Today and ring in the new year at the beach.
That sounds fun. Who's packing the cocktails? But while Biden takes more time off, he is losing ground to his Republican rivals. The latest Real Clear Politics average of polls show Trump leading by more than 2 points now in a head-to-head matchup. Washington Examiner deputy editor of Restoring America, Kaylee McGee-White, joins us now. Kaylee, good morning to you. So the president resting up before the new year, where he's going to be working hard to reverse those poll numbers. What do you think? Is there anything the president can do at this point to make things better for him when it comes to polling? Because things are really solidifying around Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, for one, he could try and start campaigning, which he barely has done. And this is the problem with him constantly going on vacation. He's spent 40% of his presidency thus far on vacation, whether it's at his Delaware beach house or in California, now in St. Croix, which... Listen, I kind of wish that I was Biden right now. But it is a problem because it tells the voters that he's either not fit to handle the duties of the job, or worse, that he doesn't even care to try. So this is going to exacerbate concerns about his mental acuity, about his physical fitness moving forward. And again, it would be one thing if he was out there on the campaign trail trying to appeal to voters, if he was in front of the press, doing regular press conferences, asking reporters questions. He's not doing any of those things. And at the same time, you have reports from within the White House itself of aides saying, you know what, we actually try and shield him from the hard day-to-day stuff because they're so worried about what happens when he's in front of the cameras.
To that point, though, when you look at Trump's lead, how much of it do you think it really is a sort of a desire just to have somebody who's working hard all the time behind the desk, not 40% of the time on vacation? Because Americans, let's face it, when you compare us to Europe and other countries, we're a hard-working lot. How much of that lead that you see with Trump is like, I'm tired of the personality. I know he tweets and X's and does this Truth Social too much, but man, I just want a worker in there.
Right. I think that's certainly part of it because Biden is not exactly giving them a great alternative. But I think another part of Trump's appeal is that there is this sense of he's being attacked and people are rallying around him as a result. They believe that he's being attacked directly by the Biden administration in some cases. And then, of course, there was the Colorado Supreme Court decision trying to bar him from the state's ballot. There were several other states that are sort of waiting in line to see what happens there. So there's certainly that sort of rebound effect that Trump is experiencing as a direct result.
So there's also the economy. And yesterday I heard one Democratic strategist use the term Trumponomics.
Oh.
What are the chances the Biden campaign starts using Trumponomics to try and replace Bidenomics? And will it work?
Well, they're not exactly the greatest messengers, so it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, remember, Bidenomics actually started out as a Republican insult, and then the Biden White House decided, oh, let's adopt it.
It's like Doug Brandon.
And so, this sort of bizarre messaging strategy that has clearly backfired to the point where Biden himself avoided using the phrase Bidenomics for more than a month because he realizes that it's so unpopular.
Yeah.
What does Trumponomics look like? Just everybody has a job and everybody's making money?
Yeah, that's the counter
Things
to
are
that.
Great. It seems like an odd thing to that's bad. We're going to run on that.
Yeah,
I want to get your thoughts on this. Kamala Harris, the vice president. You remember on Thanksgiving, she posted a picture with the gas stove. Well, she's at it again. Another holiday photo in front of a gas stove. There it is. There's the Christmas one. You can see because we've adorned it with Christmas banners on the side.
Nice. I feel festive and warm right now.
Do we have the Thanksgiving one? It looks very similar. There's Thanksgiving.
It has a different background.
Different banners. We have the Thanksgiving one, just to make it clear for the viewer at home. Is her team not telling her about this backlash, or does she just not care?
I just think that they don't care because, again, this is the whole point of the efforts to ban gas stoves in the first place. They want to deny you what they want for themselves. We saw this during COVID, the hypocritical double standards where the leaders were operating by a completely different quality of life than they forced on everyone else. And again, with all of this climate nonsense, which is what the ban on gas stoves is a part of, it's about control at the end of the day. They want to be able to control the way that you live your life, whether it's what kind of stove you use, what kind of car you drive, what kind of food you eat. So that's all a part of it. And I think that she's just flouting it at this point.
Someone in the campaign needs to start reading the comment section because the comments are brutal every time she posts a gas stove picture. It wasn't even her or President Biden who wanted to ban gas stoves. It was somebody else in the administration, and then they vetoed the whole idea. But no gas stove pictures for anybody in the Biden administration moving forward, apparently. Kayleigh, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you,
guys. Appreciate it.
You're from Michigan. I confirmed that in the break. I don't know if you're a Pistons fan, but maybe you shouldn't be, because they just set the longest record for the longest single-season losing streak in NBA history. They just dropped the 27th straight game to Aaron's Brooklyn Nets.
Sasser back to Knox. Kevin Knox. Oh, he left the floor with bad intentions, but Nick Claxton, the rim protector, and Claxton rim running the other way.
Carly, the
Yeah.
Pistons have not won a game since October 28th.
Oh, that's a long time.
When they beat the Chicago Bulls, and their 118-112 loss last night, breaking the previous record shared by the Philadelphia 76ers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. We're going to see if the streak continues when the Pistons face off against the Boston Celtics tomorrow. The Celtics are really, really good. If I were a betting man, I would say the streak grows by 1 after they face the Celtics. So you have it there. Even Tommy DeVito's dad says he was a little perplexed that his son was benched during the Giants' Christmas Day loss to the Eagles. Tom DeVito Sr. telling the Post, quote, "I thought he was hurt maybe. Then I just heard it like you guys did from the sideline reporter. Coach's decision." Here's what Tommy DeVito had to say on that coach's decision.
It's just a constant reminder that it's a business. I mean, they're always going to try to find someone to replace you, whatever it is, but the same day, it is a business. It's your job. I respect it. There's no feelings one way or another. Listen, I was hoping Ty was going to go out there and ball, and we would win the game.
Just a few weeks ago, Cutlets, as I call him, was being called an Italian hero after leading the G-Men to several victories. They won 3 in a row. They have not won 3 in a row in a while now. G-Men are going to try to get back to their winning ways. They won't. When they play the Los Angeles Rams, you can watch that game this Sunday, New Year's Eve, 1 p.m. Eastern. Those are pretty helmets.
Don't miss it. That Italian hero is a great headline.
It really
Great
is.
headline by the Post. Here's a headline of another kind. Activist group Doctors Against Genocide just canceled their upcoming protest at the Holocaust Museum, but only after getting serious backlash.
David Webb here, and we'll get his reaction. Don't go anywhere.
Visit the Holocaust Museum to express our empathy for the horrors of that genocide. Additionally, we wanted to bring awareness to the ongoing genocide in Gaza. David Webb is a Fox News contributor, and he joins me now. David, this was going to be a controversial event because this group has called for a ceasefire before. They have also appeared alongside Rashida Tlaib, who's been censored by Congress. Why would they want to hold their event at the Holocaust Museum?
Well, let's unpack this a little bit. There's a lot more to this story. First of all, they don't know the definition of genocide, or they've actually chosen to ignore it. You mentioned Rashida Tlaib, so I started tracking something a few weeks back. It started with Sean Fain, president of the UAW, with Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Cori Bush up on Capitol Hill.
United Auto Workers.
The president of UAW.
Okay.
Unions for ceasefire. Look at the sign for Doctors for Ceasefire. These groups that are disconnected seemingly are all connected. They're formed out of a group, Jetpack, which is a nonprofit that has total revenues of $97,000 and change, according to IRS 990, but paid their executive director $65,000 a year. This is a scam pack standing up a group, Doctors Against Genocide, who are using the nonprofit status to claim that. This is part of the leftist progressive scam. When you tie the lawmakers involved with both groups, you get Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, you get all of the Cori Bush, the usual squad, the jihad squad suspects. So this is not unusual. What they did was they set up something to falsely claim it's genocide. Again, not the definition of genocide. They canceled it all to get press. This is part of the leftist progressive. And I would ask the UAW auto workers, the workers, if their union represents them when they work with these groups. I could go down the names. My editor, when I was a newspaper, said ask questions, and if you still have questions, keep asking questions. Dig into these groups. You'd be more surprised how connected they are.
They say follow the money.
Follow the money.
Sounds like you
how
did
do you
just
have
that.
$97,000 in revenues?
So what does that all
pay
mean,
your
though?
executive director $65,000 and your expenses at an office on 45 Cambridge Street in Massachusetts?
What are you insinuating, though?
Well, why are you paying somebody over 2/3 or roughly 2/3 of your total revenues as a charity?
Okay, very interesting. One to follow, for sure. There is also this. Okay, so pro-Palestinian protesters have taken over New York City streets, of course. It's become a big problem for the NYPD because after the Black Lives Matter protests, the NYPD was forced to change how they deal with protesters. They've made big changes as a result of this. So those changes include they've ended crowd control tactics referred to as kettling, which is to confine protesters into a small area before making arrests. It's also created a 4-tier strategy to deal with protests, including a hands-off approach for peaceful demonstrations. Eric Adams responded to some criticism over this. Take a listen to what he had to say.
As soon as I read the settlement, I said, this is a problem. This is a problem. And, you have to go by the advice of your attorneys, But as soon as I read it, anyone who policed this city should be concerned about what's in the settlement.
What do you think about this?
Well, first of all, he's still just a fraud. Mayor Tracksuit doesn't care. He says whatever's in the moment. I'll tell you what does matter here. You have police officers being injured nightly, daily, and certainly at night while they come out and protest, which is really mini riots across the city. And I hear from NYPD guys at the precinct level. We're talking injuries. We're talking wounds. We're talking time. They're literally costing the city, and this is all part of the disruption of society. They want it. What happens when let's put it this way. Let's say 3 police officers get injured in one event. They're now off the beat. They're recovering. Where are they supposed to be when New York's already down police officers, can't field enough to fill more than possibly one academy class next year? That's the projection. Think about what this really means to the city, to the bodega that's getting robbed, to the grandma that's getting robbed, to the person that needs police for an emergency response, a heart attack, whatever the case may be. Let's look at it for what it is. Like the prior story, this is all about disrupting, tearing society apart, and keeping people at each other. And Mayor Adams shouldn't be believed about a thing. He supported Black Lives Matter. He stood there with them like all these other liberal, progressive black mayors and white mayors all across the country. He should have been dancing with the mayor in Philadelphia, practically was celebrating them, and now he's upset because they grifted him.
Well,
they grifted the taxpayers.
Listen, he's the top dog in New York City. He's the lead guy. He's the mayor. So if he doesn't like this policy, then maybe it's up to him to do something about it, to change it so that police can respond to these protests in an appropriate way. David, thank you so much for joining us in studio. We appreciate you. Todd, over to you.
Carly, it has not been a great run for the defending Super Bowl champs Kansas City Chiefs of late, and some sports commentators think the problem is actually in the stands. Is Joe Concha one of them? Does he want to spend his Wednesday responding to angry Swifties on Twitter? He's next with his take. But first, Griff Jenkins, an actual Swiftie, has a look at what's coming up on Fox and Friends. And that's real. That's not a joke. You love T-Swift.
I do. Hang in there, Taylor. Hold fast. Meanwhile, Todd, good morning. Coming up on Fox and Friends, we got a jam-packed Wednesday morning. A major escalation in the Red Sea as the U.S. Navy is forced to engage Iran-backed Houthi rebels with anti-ship ballistic missiles to defend against incoming fire. Plus, we'll get fresh insight on what it means for U.S. interests in the region from retired USS Cole Commander Kirk Lippold. Also happening this morning, top Biden administration officials heading to Mexico to meet with President Obrador as CBP sources reveal a staggering 35,000 migrants crossed the border over the holiday weekend. President of the National Border Patrol Council, Brandon Judd, joins us live with his reaction. And Dr. Jeanette Neshwat talks a potential breakthrough for Americans with high blood pressure. Charles Payne has his top investment tips for the new year. And Senator Lindsey Graham is here on former President Trump's ballot battle in Colorado. All coming up live on Fox and Friends in about 9 minutes.